I immediately called my mother. I was panicking.
I think in total I was tested for chlamydia 4 or 5 times over 6 months.
I would Google online to find out what eczema looks like, and that is not what I had.
So when I was about 16 years old, I vividly remember this moment because I was so terrified of what could possibly be going wrong. For the most part, I was a very healthy teenager. I was a triathlete. We had just finished playing a basketball game against another military bases team. I was taking a shower, and after I got out the shower, for whatever reason, I think I was doing like a self-breast exam, I had squeezed my chest and there was like milk coming out of it.
When I was 23, I started having cramps in what felt like maybe my abdomen or my stomach. I wasn't 100% sure. I would just get these occasional throbbing, shooting pains. I definitely didn't think it'd be something that would keep happening for so many years of my life.
When I was 33, about 3 years ago, I started to develop this itchiness. It was very mild at the beginning, but I still decided, hey, something's wrong. This is not normal.
I was honestly so embarrassed that for about the next like 5 years, I had never told anybody. When I was about 20 years old, my mom had booked a well woman's exam for me, my sister, and herself. And while I was in this exam, they did a breast exam, and the doctor had asked me if I had any discharge. I was like, no, I don't think it's discharge, but if you do squeeze my chest, like there's going to be like a milky substance that comes out. She did it, she saw what it was, and she's like, this is nothing to be alarmed about, you're fine.
The first time I went to the doctor, they literally had no answers for me. They were kind of just like, you're young, you're healthy, you're fine. It just felt like the first few appointments were literally a complete waste of my and their time.
I went to doctors for the first time and they told me that I had to go see a dermatologist. The dermatologist said, oh, we're gonna have to do some tests. And one of the tests that they did for me was an allergy test because they swore it was allergies. I wasn't allergic to anything, nothing. So the test came back with nothing. The doctors still decided that they were going to give me every flavor of antihistamine to help me with the itchiness. During those 2 weeks when I was trying the medication and I was doing it exactly as they told me, I was scratching to the point that I still have marks all over my body. I mean, it got so bad to the point that I couldn't drive, I couldn't type, I couldn't do my job.
Fast forward to 2019, I'm now 26 years old, and I scheduled another well woman's exam. Again, they're doing the breast exam, and the woman asked me if I've ever had any discharge. I literally at this point said, no, my breasts do leak, but I've been told by other doctors it's fine, it's nothing to worry about. She sees the liquid coming out and she immediately says, no, this is something you need to be concerned about. It's the indication of a brain tumor.
I realized I needed to take matters into my own hands and start religiously tracking exactly what time of day the pain came. Once I started writing everything down, I realized the pain was coming after having sex, specifically after having orgasms related to either sex or masturbation. The pain would come on about 24 to 48 hours after. I went back to the doctor and was told it's very likely that you have chlamydia. I'm in a long-term relationship, so I didn't really think that was it. So I tested for chlamydia, did not have chlamydia, but then the next month, a different doctor insisted that I test for chlamydia again. I think in total I was tested for chlamydia 4 or 5 times over 6 months.
So the next time I went back, they said, oh, you have eczema. I was shocked because I would Google online to find out what eczema looks like, and that is not what I had. Not only did they give me a bunch of creams to try, they also gave me something to inject myself with.
So the doctor insisted on taking my blood, testing my prolactin levels, and she told me if they were elevated, she was going to be referring me to a specialist. So fast forward about a week and a half, and her secretary calls me to tell me that indeed my prolactin levels were elevated and that I need to go see a specialist. And I had 2 options. I could either see a specialist on the day I'm supposed to fly out to see my family for Christmas, or wait an entire month. Because my family lives in Korea and this was going to be the one time of the year that we all got to meet up, I was like, I'll just take this L and sit on the fact I might have a brain tumor. I immediately called my mother. I was panicking. My mom's like, no, take this appointment for the day you're supposed to fly out. We will change your flight. And of course that appointment was taken. So I had to now wait an entire month to see a doctor.
So because I also was getting some facial hair, I'm hairy, I'm Jewish, my next gynecologist said, you have PCOS, aka polycystic ovarian syndrome. So we tested for that. We had my hormones checked. We did an ultrasound of my stomach for cysts, uterine fibroids, PCOS. Everything came back nada.
I noticed that I was losing my hair. Now, what does losing my hair have to do with this itchiness? Back I go to the doctor. They said, oh, you have alopecia. Alopecia? I had to Google what that was. And they started giving me shots in my head for it.
Over the holidays, I literally do a deep dive into what an elevated prolactin level means. I become an expert in prolactinoma, which is essentially a pituitary tumor that sits at the base of your skull and excretes extra hormones and makes you create milk. I even was like, okay, I have this tumor, what happens next? And it was like, okay, you may have to have surgery. You may have to be on medication for life. And I was literally just in a downward spiral. I was calling every doctor in LA, in Seattle, in Atlanta to try and find any specialist who would take me quickly. I had to go see an endocrinologist, and for whatever reason, it takes months to go see them.
Once the vagina path was just not really fitting my symptoms, I went back to my internist, aka regular doctor, and she was like, okay, we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna go down the stomach path. At this point, I was having severe mixtures of diarrhea and constipation and had also gotten hemorrhoids. We had a doctor who said to me, because of your symptoms in your stomach, you definitely have IBS.
The pain was still there in the itchiness and my hair was still falling. So I desperately went back to the emergency room and I told them my symptoms and I told them everything that was happening. They told me, well, this must be anxiety. The psychiatrist comes down and she's like, oh, have you had any stresses on your life? Who hasn't? I have 2 kids. I'm a single mom. I have a full-time job. Yes, I have stress in my life, but why do I have stress in my life now at this juncture when I have been doing this for years? My son is 11 years old. They gave me gabapentin. That is a medication that makes you extremely sleepy.
So finally, I get back to LA and I'm like, all right, the holidays are over. It's kind of me and my thoughts. And out of the blue, I get a call from a doctor's office that I had called a while back and they were like, no, this doctor isn't available for 3 months. And they were like, actually, we have the last minute opening for like 2 days from now. And I like jumped for joy. I was like, finally, this will be over. I will know what is going on.
We had all of my organs scanned, we did x-rays, and all of those results came back negative.
So when I went in to talk to the psychiatrist, she said, I'm gonna treat you like a new patient, which meant that she was gonna do blood work, like a whole panel of blood work for me. Now, when the blood work came back, she didn't reach out to me and tell me that my blood work was weird. I have access to my blood work, so I looked at it and I saw that something was off. And then I started talking to my coworker about this itchiness all over my body. So he told me I had the same thing. And I was like, how did you resolve it? So it was a liver enzyme that he told me that if it doesn't get released, you get all this itching in your body. And then he had surgery and he was fine. So I decided I'm gonna go get a liver doctor and I'm gonna find out, because one of my enzymes in my blood work was elevated. When I went to the liver doctor, he decided to tell me that I needed to go get an MRI. When I got the results about 3 weeks later, we all know that when doctors say you need to come in, they're about to tell you something serious. So I was not happy when he said that, but I was ready to find out what was wrong with me.
And I'm just like, I want to get this over, like counting down the minutes until I can see this specialist. And I walk into his office, he looks at my chart, he asks why I'm here, and I tell him, you know, I went to see a doctor, she told me I had these elevated levels and that I have a brain tumor and that I need to see you to pretty much confirm her diagnosis. And the doctor looked at my level and he was like, did she not tell you what your level was? And I said, no. So for people who have prolactinoma, usually it's a concern when your levels are over 100. My level was 22. And the doctor told me that that is pretty consistent with wearing a tight sports bra. Now, mind you, I was an athlete my entire life. This could have been nixed at 16.
My gynecologist told me, you must have a musculoskeletal issue. You have pelvic floor dysfunction, AKA chronic pain in the very, very top inside of your vagina.
So the liver doctor told me that I had enlarged lymph nodes and that I had lymphoma, that I was going to lose my hair, that I was going to need a good support system, good healthcare system, just like that, nonchalant, like he's not telling me I got cancer. The oncologist came and he told me he did more tests. There was more tests performed on me to find out what kind of lymphoma, because there are two types of lymphomas. And so he told me I had stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
The endocrinologist wanted to do his due diligence, so he did schedule me for an MRI of my brain just to confirm, which turns out everything was fine.
So knowing it was not about the organs and it was about the muscles was very helpful, and I was glad that I had something to do. So I was given pelvic floor physical therapy. It does alleviate symptoms short term. However, several years later, I'm still dealing with pain after sex and masturbation. So I'm frustrated. I'm still looking for answers, but I am at least glad that I did my due diligence to find it wasn't something life-threatening or super serious. But who wants to have pain after sex? It still sucks. I have this guy. I do all kinds of like foam rolling, pelvic exercise things that are very strange, but they're helpful.
So the Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer is cancer of the lymph nodes. I had enlarged lymph nodes here. Right here, it was visible, and it was stage 4 because I had it in my lungs. I had it on the top of my body and then from the belly down as well. I was devastated, completely devastated, but I didn't let it show. So I went through 6 months of chemotherapy. I completely lost my hair. It's now growing back. My kids were amazing. They took care of me. My family took care of me. It was tough, but not as tough as it can happen to a lot of other people, because my mom also had cancer. She was able to walk me through everything and help me through it all.
My story about my misdiagnosis is similar and different to what a lot of Black women experience. More often than not, our concerns aren't taken seriously. So to be thrusted completely to the other end of the spectrum, where I'm overdiagnosed and told I have a brain tumor with no regards to actual facts on if I could have this tumor or how that would make me feel, is kind of the lack of empathy some of these doctors have in the medical community for women of color.
I have so much respect for people whose pain is affecting their daily lives, their mobility, their mortality. I'm very lucky that that is not the case for this, but I have really learned to advocate for myself and speak up.
I haven't had my last PET scan to find out if it's completely gone or not, but I am grateful that I'm breathing, and I'm grateful that I have another day. I want everybody to know that if something is wrong with you, you know your body better than anybody else. So don't let the doctors brush you off. Keep pushing for an answer, because you are the best advocate for yourself.